And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took to wife a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived, and bare a son. And when she saw him that he was a goodly child, she hid him 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and dabbed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein. She laid it in the flags of the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off, to wit what would be done to him. Verse 3 says, when she could no longer hide him, she put him in a boat. I want to talk about Mother Knows Best. The story has been told about this young lady who was ashamedly ashamed of her mother. Her mother had suffered a severe burn accident, which caused her face to be burned severely. And this young lady was ashamed of her mother. Every time she would come to the school, she did not want to introduce her mother as her mother because of how her face looked. Around family members, she was ashamed. She did not want to introduce her mother to people. When came time to get dressed for prom, she was terrified that folks would come over, as her mother would eagerly want to be a part of the getting dressed process. She was very ashamed of her mother because of the accident. And even it got so bad that her husband, the mother's husband, the daughter's father, which was the mother's husband, had left her, decided he could not stand to look into this woman's face any longer because he was no longer attracted to her. One day, this mother set her daughter down and she said, "Why are you ashamed of me?" And the daughter said, "Because of how you look right now." And she said, "Do you know why my face has been burnt like this?" She said, "No, mother, but I do know that my friends talk about me. They mistreat me when they see me. I cannot endure that type of ridicule." And so her mother said, "Let me sit down and tell you how my face got burned. Not too long, quite some time ago, when you were about 3 months old, the house caught fire. And I was suddenly trapped between a rock and a hard place. And in order for me to get out, I had to grab you and cover you in my arms while my face was exposed to the flames. And in order for me to get you out the house alive, I had to be willing to sacrifice my face. I sacrificed my beauty for the sake of yours." Suddenly, this daughter had tears to her falling out of her eyes because she realized that all the ridicule and shame she had, she was really being hard on the mother who saved her life. And I thought today that I would use that as a springboard to highlight the fact that mothers embody sacrifice in more ways and better ways than most of us would even dream of. I want you to understand that mothers at their core embody sacrifice. There are countless mothers who have died giving birth to their children. There's something encoded into the instinct of motherhood that causes them to sacrifice even their own lives just to make sure their offspring is taken care of. I want you to understand that you should celebrate a mother who has given up everything just to make sure you had something. Let me say that again. I said you ought to celebrate these mothers who have given up everything just to make sure you had something. I thank God for these mothers who are here today, but I want us to understand that our mothers know, even in the childbearing, in the childbirth process, they sacrifice their own bodies just to bring you into this world. I want you to understand, you don't even know it. you don't even know it, but most times when you thought your family had money, the truth of the matter is your mother was making it happen. You thought that because you wore nice shoes that mother just had a tree out back growing money on it, but the truth be told, she bent over backwards just to make sure you could stand on your feet. And there are those mothers who made sure that they loved you so much that a lot of the trouble that they got into was because of you. They sinned because they wanted to make sure you were taken care of. I know we can collectively celebrate those mothers who did it the right way, but there are some mothers who did it the wrong way but they were in the right place when they did it. What I mean by that, they did the wrong thing for the right reasons. They did everything, no matter what it took, how bad it was, just to make sure their offspring was able to stand on their 2 feet. And I thank God for bologna sandwiches, syrup sandwiches, and all that good stuff, because I've never been hungry a day in my life, but I thank God for the fact that I did not know what it took to get food on the table, clothes on my back. I haven't always had what I wanted, but I thank God for the fact that God always made sure mama had something for us to eat. It's something amazing about mama when ain't nothing in the refrigerator but baking soda and a loaf of bread on the counter, and somehow she comes up with a 3-course meal for everybody, including her house and everybody else's house. It's something about when grandmama would put together a pot of beans and throw some leftover ground beef in them and grab a box of cornbread and say, everybody in the neighborhood, come eat. You ought to thank God for mothers who decided that they are going to take care of our children. Our attention is invited to the book of Exodus. The book Exodus means exit. This book captures the exit strategy God used to free the Israelites from Egyptian bondage. Now, chapter 2 explains the horrific scene surrounding the birth of Moses. Although Moses is the author of our text, he is not the hero in our text. The mother of Moses is the real MVP in the text because of the tough choice she made to save his life. And I think I need to pull over right there and to remind us that so often everybody else gets the credit but the real MVP in the house. It's the mother that makes sure the homework get done, make sure the clothes get washed, make sure the food is cooked, make sure everybody is taken care of, and then finds the time to take care of her man, and then finds the time to nurse her children back to health and boost their confidence, all while ignoring her own wounds, ignoring her own bruises. And too often the mother is the unsung hero in the home. She, as a matter of fact, the Bible tells us that she is the female is the weaker vessel, but in a parenting situation, the mother is oftentimes the strongest. Because she's why am I saying that? You just contradicted yourself, Pastor, because the Bible says the woman is the weaker vessel. But you just said the mother is the stronger one. I'm so glad that you asked, because it is the mother that endures what us men can't handle. Oh, I wish I had somebody talk back to me up here. But ladies, y'all gonna have to help me. It's your day. I'm trying to help celebrate you. But it's the mothers that can sit back and take a lick and keep on moving. It's the mothers that can sit back and watch their girls talk bad to them and still give to them while after they done disrespected them. It's the mothers that tend to keep the family together after he has cheated. She decided to stick it around for the sake of her children. I want you to understand that mothers are built for strength. But they're oftentimes overlooked for it. And the mother of Moses is the real MVP. Her name is Jochebed. And Moses doesn't even mention her name until chapter 6. But in order to understand the decision this mother made in chapter 2, you must understand the danger she faced in chapter 1. Pharaoh has sent out this order to 2 Hebrew and Israelite midwives that they are to kill all the male children as soon as they are born. he sends out this decree. He says, kill all the boys. And why did he do this? Because there was a problem in the Egyptian camp, that the Israelites were the slaves of the Egyptian camp. And so Pharaoh looked and found out that they were multiplying faster than they could handle. And so he said, the last thing we need is for them to outnumber us, because if they outnumber us, then they can overthrow us. You don't want your enemy to outnumber you, because they can come back and take over you. And so he said, what we're going to do, interestingly, ironically, he says, kill the boys. I want you to pull over right there. Let me remind you that Satan is after your sons, because that is the strength of the heritage. It is the strength of the lineage. It is the backbone of the lineage. And if he can take away the power, then he can hinder the growth of the lineage. And I want you to understand that he sent this decree out to kill the boys. And he said, keep the daughters, but kill the boys. They were to kill them before they gave them back to the mother. These midwives back in the Bible days, they would go and help the woman deliver the baby, and then they would take the baby and then go clean the baby off and then bring them back to the mother. But what Pharaoh instructed them to do is, when you deliver the baby, kill him and then tell the mother something happened to him. These midwives were Hebrew midwives, and they was now suddenly thrown into this contradiction, because they did not want to betray their God, but they knew the dangers of betraying Pharaoh. So they could not kill the boys. And when Pharaoh found out, he says, why didn't you kill the boys like I told you to do? And they explained that the Hebrew women, they said the Hebrew women are not ordinary women. They are strong women, and by the time we get there to deliver the baby, they've already carried and delivered the baby. Now, that says something about these Hebrew women, because they are strong. They represent strength. They didn't need no help delivering the baby. They didn't need no help taking care of their babies. They were built for strength. They were built for care. And I want to thank God for all the women who did it by themselves, who did it without the help of some no-good joker. I'm thanking God for all the women who decided to make sure that no matter what, if I got to do it by myself, I'll do it by myself. Thank you, single mothers who made sure your kids had something to eat. And I want to pull over right there and tell you about the problem that I have with these mothers whose hair is done and nails is done, but your kids look a mess. I got a problem with you. You got money to club, you got money to buy heels and nails and hair and makeup and all this stuff, and then got the audacity to spend some money on a man, but your kids ain't got a haircut. Your kids ain't got money to work. I don't know what it is about this new generation of mothers. I don't understand. They think that it's all right to make sure you cute, but your kids look a mess. That wasn't in the notes. I don't know where I found that at, but it's true anyhow. It's true anyhow. Pharaoh then issues, so he's in a dilemma. He said, I done told y'all to kill the male boys. He says, I tell you what, he says, I tell you what, since y'all can't do it, he then issues a decree to all the people in Egypt, all the leaders of Egypt, and he says to them, kill all the boys. He says, as a matter of fact, when they are born, drown them in the Nile River. Drown them in the Nile River. And now we find her motivation to save his life. Jochebed. In the Bible, her name is spelled like Jochebed, but it's pronounced Jochebed. And so she's now sitting in a situation because she's given birth to her son, Moses. But the decree has been sent out twice to kill him. And she just can't handle that. Like most mothers, you wouldn't be able to carry out that order. You don't care what Trump said. If he said kill your son, you're going to be the devil is a lie. He won't get this one. I don't care who in the White House. I don't care who sent out the decree. You can't get my child. And I know some mothers in here that will go to bat for theirs. Their kid can be right. Their kid can be wrong. Their kid can be over here, can be guilty. They can be innocent. But over come hell or high water, a fight for kid when they come to your kid, man, I done seen y'all. I done seen how y'all act about y'all. Y'all will get real gangster about y'all. Yeah. But that's just a mother with her kids. But then there's something uniquely different about a mother with her son. Because that's a whole different thing right there. Because you may know that he out there doing the food, but you better not handle him wrong. You know, my grandmother was one of those. She was saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. But when it came to her children, somehow she just seemed to forget. And I done seen her shout, and they said, "Hold up, man." That's my boy right there. You got a problem with that one? That's my boy right there. See, there's something about a mother and her sons. Yeah, I see mothers and daughters, they have a great relationship, don't get me wrong, but there's something about mothers, they'll send you to the car, but they'll walk him to the car. Anyway, the point is, let me get back to the text. I'm gonna pay for that later. I'm gonna pay for that later. The point is, mothers tend to baby their boys. They take care of their sons because that's my boy. You got that, man. He could be guilty as charged, and you can be like, yeah, but he's still mine. And you better not bother him. Yes, y'all will. Look at how y'all look. Yes, you will. Yes, you will. So she decides, she jumps into survival mode. She jumps into survival mode. Now she says, I gotta do something to protect my boy, and to save my boy. And what bothers me, what trips me out, is what she does. And I was asking the wrong questions when I was studying this text. I'm like, man, I said, well, why would she do this? And what is it that why would she do it this way? Why would she take her boy and put him in the boat and drop him off in the river? I don't understand why she would do that. And Moses said, you're asking the wrong question. The real question is not why she did it, but the real question is, what did she know that caused her to do it? What was she aware of? And the first thing I found out was that she knows what's in him. Oh, look in the text, look in the text. Look in verse 2 now, look in verse 2. Look in verse 2. The verse 2 says, and the woman conceived and bare a son. And when she saw him, watch this, that he was a goodly child, she knew what was in him. I think I need to pull over right there to remind you, mothers, that your fight against anybody else that may come against your child, you better make sure you also fight your son about his destiny. Oh, can I teach that a little bit right there? See, you're so busy fighting everybody else, but what if your child's worst enemy is himself? What if he don't really know what he is about? That's why, and I want to pull over right there and tell some of you children, that's the reason mama is hard on you. That's the reason she don't take no foolishness from you. That's why she don't play around with you, because she knows there's something on the inside of you. She knew what was in him. She knew what was in. We live in a world that considers what they kill far more than what they allow to live. They will consider what they kill, but they don't even consider what they allow him to live. He was a goodly child. The text says goodly. And I like that because although I know proper English, but the text gave me a real good excuse to speak improper English. The text says he's a goodly child. It says, if we're not careful, we will assume that this was just stating he was a good kid. We will assume that this text is just saying he's a good boy. And that's not what the text is saying. The text is saying he's a goodly child. What that really means, when I did my word study on the word goodly, I discovered that it means favored and it means valuable. It does not just mean well behaved, because he hadn't been here long enough to determine if he was a good behaved child. But what this verse means is that he is favored and he is valuable. And when you know the favor of God that's on your child, you'll go through hell and high water just to make sure it comes to pass. He is favored and valuable. And I want you to understand, great mothers know the value of their children. They know what's in them. That's why they protect it. And verse 2 says, when she saw that he was a goodly child, she knew what was in him. His purpose had been activated at birth. Great mothers see the capability of their children. What do you do with what's in them? See, the question I'm asking is, there's going to come a time when God is going to ask you, what did you do with what I put in your children? She was responsible for making sure that his destiny became his story. She was making sure she had to protect. She was not just protecting her baby, but she was protecting his purpose, protecting his calling, protecting his gift, his anointing on his life. And then when I find out what else is in him, it's also in his lineage. His lineage, you got to understand, the text does not just accidentally imply where they are from. In verse 1, it tells us that they are from the Levi tribe. And the Levi tribe is a tribe that produces preachers. They handle the religious, spiritual tasks of the entire camp of Israel. They were known to produce high priests and preachers and anointed ones. And she said, I can't let this one die, because they don't even know who they killed. For Pharaoh, it might just be a boy. But for God, this is a king. This is an anointed one. And you can't kill what God has anointed. So the next thing is, she knows what's in him. But then she also knows her limits. Look at verse 3. Verse 3 deals with her limits. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark. See, being a great mother is not just about knowing what you can be, but it's also having an understanding of what you cannot do. When she discovered what was in him, she also knew what was not in her. Her protection came in two forms. When she realized her first response was to hide him. She hid him, takes us for 3 months. And then she realized, I can't hide this boy that long because he get me. And they're gonna find him. And so she decided to hide him, and then she decided to send him. Now, when she got ready to send him, she put him in this boat, and I'm going to deal with that in a second. But she made sure she positioned him so that he stood the best chance to succeed. Great mothers position their kids in the best place to succeed. Watch this, even if it's away from them. I'm going to say that again, and I want that to sink in. Real mothers, great mothers, position their children to succeed, even if it means leaving them. See, some of us love our kids so much that we don't want to let them go. But if the best place for them to succeed is absent from you, then you need to put them in the best position to succeed. Am I teaching it all of this morning? See, y'all came for a Mother's Day sermon, but I want you to understand that real mothers understand that if you love them, you got to put them in the best position. I'm in Bible country. Train up a child in the way they should go. Not train up a child in the way they should stay. You train them in the way they should go. I don't know where they're going, but they got to lie. The point is, you train them to lead. If your child is not ready to leave home when they become an adult, you have failed them. You train them to go. Too many of us training them to stay. And they 35 years old, still putting their name on the orange juice in your house. Come, preach Pastor Jake up in here. You don't teach them how to work. You teach them how to lean. And you teach them how to depend. But I want you to understand that you have failed them if they're not ready to go when they get older. Something wrong with you. There's something wrong with the love for your child that can position them to stay with you, but don't ever prepare them to live without you. I really hate the fact that Mother's Day comes around every year, because for me it's nothing but a reminder that I don't have her. But I also thank God for the fact that she prepared me to live without her. She made sure that I knew Jesus. She made sure that I knew what was right and I knew what was wrong. She made sure, she said, baby, I'm going to teach you how to cook. Because if you really want to impress a woman, put on an apron and show her you can get down in the kitchen. She said, she made sure that I knew how to keep a job. Because when I keep a job, I can take care of my house. She made sure she didn't need nobody to tell me. She did it herself. You got to prepare your child for your absence. Sad reality is that we making them good kids and good basketball players, good football players, but we ain't making them good men. We making them good volleyball players and good soccer coaches, but we ain't making them good women. And what we have is in our house is we have big kids. We have big kids who are sitting in the form of grown folks, but they still a kid because nobody prepared them to leave. So she positions her baby to succeed. She positions him. She understands that there's only so much she can do for him. There's only so far her money gonna go. There's only so many ways she can protect him. So she puts him, she hid him for 3 months, and when she hid him for 3 months, I found out that when the Israelites, they stayed in one side of the territory in Egypt, but mixed amongst them were the slave drivers of Egypt. So the slave drivers of Egypt would be peppered around, positioned in some of their buildings just to keep a close eye on them. So she had to make sure that her son was not able to leave the house because we didn't want nobody from Egypt to find out if this boy doesn't still live, because there would be a problem. So she hid him for 3 months, but she realized there was only so far her little apartment could get it. There was only so far her money could get it. That's why women and parents, you need to make sure your kids get everything they can get out of their education. Because there's only so far your money gonna take them. They need to make sure that they get everything they need to learn on how to survive on their own. Because after a while, they're gonna outgrow your house. And you need to make sure that they are taken care of and ready to live on their own. And so she sent him. She sent him. What did she do? She sent him. The Bible says she put him. She placed him in a papyrus boat. Now papyrus is a wood, it's a strong wood that they use to make paper with, but it's also used to make little boats. And so she put him in this papyrus wood, and now that boat sealed with tar. It made it waterproof. Now, this papyrus was a sealant. It was a strong wood. And I wanted to just pull over and just in my sanctified imagination break down the contents of this boat for a second, because that papyrus wood was strong. It would bend but not break. It was built to endure the water. Now watch this. The other thing about papyrus wood is that it soaks up water. It absorbs water quite a bit. With that being said, what I want you to understand is God wants you mothers to place your sons, your daughters around people that can soak up what wants to kill them. People that can absorb what wants to take them out, seal them and protect them. And then she sealed it with tar. Tar sealed the boat shut. And you need some people in your life who can block stuff. She made sure that her child was surrounded by papyrus but sealed by tar. I want you to understand that then when she got the boat built and constructed for her son, and she places him in the boat and sits him in what the text says, in the flags of the river. Now, the flags of the river, I want you to understand that most of our entry-level preachers, would look at this text and assume that she tied flags to the boat so that someone would notice it. And that's not true. That's not true. Because flags in the text is not about a real flag. In the text, that's the closest English word in the Hebrew language that they can use to describe the plants in the river. There are some plants that were designed to only grow in the river. And so she used these plants that were growing at the banks of the river to seal her baby. And she was going to leave him there and leave him caught in these plants, in these river plants. Now, you'll find some preachers that will suggest to you that Moses was floating down the river banks, and his sister Miriam watched him and made sure he didn't fall into bad stuff. But that's not true. The text does not imply, nor does the text say that he floated down the river banks. The text implies that he was stuck in the thicket. Kind of like the ram that was caught in the thicket with Abraham and Isaac, but that's a whole other story. So his sister, these river plants kept him. They kept him in a hiding place. But then Miriam, his older sister, she sees that her brother has been tucked away, and she looks just to make sure he's all right. She just watches. And you need some folks in your life that's going to watch your kids in your absence. See, I grew up in a time where, and it's different now because, grandmama now like 30, 33, whatever. But I grew up in a time where number one, we went outside to play. We didn't have all these electronics and stuff, and, we went outside, played bubble gum, me and little dish, and duck goose and hide and go seek. And guess what? We played outside, and when you got thirsty, you went to the water hose, turned it on, and got you some drink. You didn't have to get Snapple and juice boxes and all that. And guess what? Nobody died. Nobody passed out. We was all right. And listen, and we played all over the place. We didn't have to play in the backyard. We could play all the way down to my sister Sally's house and down to my mother so-and-so house. And listen, whoever saw us get in trouble. I didn't do much because I knew my grandmama had eyes all over the place. Because if Sister Sally saw all of us do it, she gonna get all of us at that time. And then by the time you got home, you gonna get it again. Now I know y'all don't do that stuff no more, but see, you need to position your kids around folks that can watch them. And let me pull over right here and set free some of our school leaders. Sometimes your kid did. Yeah, they did. Sometimes they did. I know you think yours don't do this, but they do. You don't know what they do when you ain't there. But can I help you get a good idea of what they do when you ain't there? Look at what you did when your mama didn't went there. Oh, Jesus, keep me near the cross. Oh, Jesus, keep me near the cross. They hit me. God, dog didn't hit me. You see, I got daughters. And I know, Lord, the point is, it takes a village. And so Miriam represents those people that's looking after your kid when you can't. So then the last thing is so she hid him and she protected him because she knew what was in him. Then she also knew her limits. But finally, she knows God. And this in verse 8, or actually verse 6 through 10, is where everything changes. He's caught into this thicket. He's placed in his boat, sitting on the river banks, and then it's this. She knows God. The text teaches she knows God. She knew what was in him. She knew what was in her, and she also knows God. Can I pull over and say suggest to you that it is impossible to mother a child and not know God. Can I suggest to you that it is impossible to truthfully and correctly parent a kid, but you don't know God? Why am I saying that? I'll tell you why. Because some of us make the tragic mistake. We know our kids more than we know our God. But if you get to know God, he'll teach you how to know them. There's this thing was called mother's intuition. You know, my grandmama had it too, and I hated it. Because she could look at me. Jesus, I don't know if y'all ever had a mother like that, but she could look at me. And boy, did you do it? You lying. You lying. You lying. She didn't have to tell Jesus that I'm not. She looked me in my face and said, no, you did that. You did that. And she would, even though I said I didn't, she would whoop me because she knew I did. And deep down inside, I knew I did too. And I'm telling you, that comes from God. That type of parenting, you cannot effectively parent your child and you don't know him. It's too many mothers out here that know children, they know men, but they don't know God. And you can't do it without a relationship with him. Verse 6 says, this Moses was sitting in the basket, and the daughter of Pharaoh shows up, and she sees this baby sitting in the basket, crying, and says, who baby is this? And her maids found the baby. And the text says in verse 6 that she had compassion on the baby. But the text also says in verse 6 that she had compassion and she knew that he was a Hebrew baby. How does she know this was a Hebrew baby? Number one, because an Egyptian would not put their baby in the lake. They would have no reason to do that. They didn't have to. She had, but what really messes me up is not the fact that she knew he was Hebrew without even knowing it. What trips me out is that she had compassion on him, because she also knew that all the Hebrew boys were supposed to be dead. And she could have easily turned him in and said, oh, we found another one for y'all to drown. As a matter of fact, she found him in the place they were supposed to drown him. Can I pull over right there? Some of us need to be real glad that the place that was supposed to kill you, that's where God found you. And oh God, I wish I had somebody talk back to me up in here. You were in the club when he found you. You were in the streets when he found you. But thank God the streets didn't kill you. Thank God that what was meant to kill you didn't take you out. You ought to be glad that he kept you. He says she had compassion on him. And I want you to understand, God, don't worry, mothers, when you have to send your kids away. Because God will strategically place people in their path that will have compassion on them. Well, it might be somebody at the job, it might be somebody at the school, but they will have compassion on them. And perhaps all along she was trusting God. She got, because here's what happens when the daughter of Pharaoh finds her, and Miriam, the sister of Moses, goes to the daughter of Pharaoh and says, hey, yeah, you're right, this is a Hebrew boy. She says, do you want me to go find one of the Hebrew mothers to nurse him back to health? And Pharaoh's daughter said, yeah, that's a good idea. And you will not believe who she took the baby to. His own mother. And I want you to understand that just because you had to send them away don't mean they won't come back. That's why the Bible says, train up a child in the way they should go. But keep reading, because when they get old, they will not depart from it. She said, watch this. She said, but when you get it, when you take the baby back to her, I want you to pay her her wages for taking care of this boy. She got paid to take care of her own son. That is a blessing. Because when you send them away, God will make a way. Yes, He will. I said, when you send them away, God will make a way. You can trust Him even when things look bad. You can trust Him in your presence. You can trust God when the kids are moved beyond your presence. You can trust God when you have to turn your kids loose. Sometimes you got to trust God when you can't see Him. Sometimes you got to trust God when you can't find a way. This mother got paid to take care of her own child, but she got paid not by anybody, but she got paid from the one that said to kill him. I want you to understand that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. Have I got a witness? Don't you worry, don't you fret, because God is going to take care of you. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy will come in the morning. What can wash away my sins? Nothing but the blood of Jesus. Be not dismayed, whatever betides, God will provide. There's one more thing I want to show y'all in the text. There's what we call in studying Scripture prototypes of Christ. I'm going to leave y'all now, but a prototype of Christ is a Bible character that lines up with the lifestyle of Jesus the Christ. Isaac was a prototype of Christ. David was a prototype of Christ. But there are one more prototype in this text. Moses was a prototype of Christ. How do I know? Because this mother gave her son to the Egyptians. And the Egyptians, they tried to kill him. But when they found out who he was, Moses was sent back to save Israel. Who led the Israelites out of Egyptian bondage? The same one that was supposed to be killed. I want to tell you, what delivers you is the very thing that may try to kill you. Thanks be to God for Moses, because he's free. And whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Oh, yes. And Jesus was Mary's baby. They skipped He died. Didn't he die? Oh, he died. He died until everything I had done had been forgiven. He died until every lie I told had been forgiven. He died. Yes, he did. Anybody know that he died? Happy Mother's Day to all you mothers. But I can't leave you right there. They tell me early Sunday morning, he got up. Yes, he did. My grandmama told me when she was dying on a sick bed, she said, boy, make sure you remember who did it in your life. She said, son, you've been giving me too much credit for everything happened in your life. But I want to tell you, before I slip on to Jesus, that I didn't do it, but Jesus did it. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. He did it. He made the rain. He paid the bills. He kept me. Who kept you? Who rocked you to sleep at night? Who kept you when the meals were due and the money was gone? Who kept you when the man